Is it time to start worrying about the stock market? That's what I'm thinking. Hey, before I jump into some stock market commentary, I want to remind everybody, hit that subscribe button, like the thumbs up there, help other people find this information on YouTube. And with that, I'm recording this here in early April, just after the tariffs have taken effect, and the market, by any stretch of the imagination, is volatile lately. So we've been having a lot of conversations. Just want to share some information, some of the way I think about these things. And I'll start off by pulling up a graphic from JP Morgan's Guide to the Markets. It's a great piece. We'll put a link in the show notes to it. Longtime viewers have seen this numerous times before. But in this chart, going back, 1980 there, gray bars, that's the S&P 500 return for each of those years. And the red dots are the intra-year decline. So meaning sometime between January and December, how far the S&P 500 dropped. And you can take a look up here in the upper left corner, over 14% on average is the intra-year decline. Sometime between January and December, on average, a market goes down as measured by the S&P 500 over 14%. Take a look over here on the right-hand side. They go year to date on this. That's 2025 through first quarter here, through March 31st, right? So far down 10%. As I'm recording this right now, the S&P is down about 15% on the year, right? But take a look, down 10% through the third quarter. Look at last year, down 8%. The year before, down 10 again. Year before that, right? 22 is a bad year. The intra-year decline down 25. Back in 2021, intra-year decline at 5. And so you think about that lower right corner compared with the upper left, right? We're going to see on average 14% historically over the last, almost 40 years. And those last 5 years, I actually went and added up those. The average intra-year decline the last 5 years was just under 12%, right? So we haven't even had an average, on average, you go like, listen, I'd expect at some point here in the near future, the market's going to go down 20 or 25 or 30% sometime during the year, just to, reversion to the mean, I should say, right? Where, getting back to that average being 14% down, right? As I'm recording this, S&P down 15%, you go, there's a lot of reasons for it, right? Tariffs and all the things that are going with that, completely legit and a great question. Look, what does that mean? Also completely legit is, hey, we expect the market to go down, not just 15%. Wouldn't be surprising it goes down 20, 25% because that's what happens, right? And having some of that perspective can really be helpful as we think about, about our money, just what's going on in the world today. It feels different. Certainly this time it feels different, but you know what? It always feels different. It felt different in 22 and it felt different in 18 and it felt different in 2007 and 8, right? And that was all legitimate at those points in time. And this is, in a lot of ways, history repeating itself as I see it, or at least potentially that's the case, right? No need to panic quite yet. We're just getting to an average decline, and that stuff does happen periodically. I want to bring up one other thing too as we're talking about the market, right? We're talking about S&P 500. That's what gets measured, Dow Jones Industrial Average sometimes. But here's a piece, I referenced things from First Trust quite a bit, got some great data. We'll put a link to the show notes in this, but take a look, S&P 500, right? Now this is through last week. This is after, post tariffs. So the week starting April 7th, S&P 500, there it is down, 13.5%. Again, down a little bit again here today as I'm recording it, down 13.5%. Not a great start to the year, S&P 500. But look down that list a little bit farther. International stocks, as measured by the EFE index, up over 1.5% year to date, including last week's bloodbath. Quite a bit of a different story, a 15 percentage point difference. Same thing, emerging markets, a couple slots down from there. Up 1.7% on the year. Again, last week everybody kind of took a hit, but a much different story when we're talking globally diversified stocks, right? And everybody should have some international stocks in their portfolio. Talk about having other things in the portfolio. Scroll down a little bit to the bond funds, right? We talk about the markets and bonds. When it comes to our portfolios, most of us have a chunk of bonds, and in a lot of cases, a big chunk, 40 or 50% in bonds. Take a look at U.S. Treasury intermediate length, up over 5%, right? U.S. bonds as an aggregate up over 3.5%. And so you go, listen, bonds up 3.5%. International stocks, kind of flattish. Yep, U.S. large cap stocks stink, but there's a lot of other places. And remember that your portfolios have this diversification, right? It's not just U.S. large cap stocks. So that's what I'm thinking when it comes to where the markets are these days. As always, interested in knowing what you're thinking about. Jot a comment here in the comment box. Let's have a conversation. What questions do you have? How are you looking at this? What's making you scared about things? And as always, thanks a lot for watching.